Okay. Hello. I assume you can see me. Uh, I'm trying something different. If it goes well, we'll do it more often. I'm going to cook and film it. We'll see how that works. So, today we're making ricotta tomato ravioli via HelloFresh. Is that? Yes. Very viewable. Um, should be a fairly simple recipe, but it's better to start with simple your first time when you're testing something. So here we go. Oh, I just realized that. Okay, can you see the sink? All right, because I've got to wash my vegetables, of course. So first things first, dump out the bag, get everything organized and separated. We've got our zucchini, which I will be placing in the sink because I'll be washing it in a second. Scoot the chopping block over so I can organize my various ingredients. We've got parsley that'll be getting chopped shortly. Uh, Vegetable stock concentrate, Italian seasoning, and I believe both of these are probably sour cream. And this, of course, is cream cheese. We've got marinara sauce, panko crumbs. I think I mentioned the parsley, a lemon, and two garlic, which I briefly forgot the word for. Now, with garlic, I like to peel them before I wash, and I will wash them after peeling because I'm weird like that. So, whatever. I admittedly am not the best at peeling garlic, so this might take me a minute. The best entertainment ever, watching someone peel garlic. But the thing is, I give it to you real. I really hate garlic. I mean, I don't. I don't hate garlic. I hate peeling garlic. Sometimes I get it easy though. That was not bad. Come on, last little bit. Okay, so we're gonna wash the garlic, place it on a cutting board, wash the zucchini, place it over here so it can dry for the 3 seconds it'll take for me to actually get to it. I'm gonna need to boil water, so let's go ahead and get that started. Place that on the boiler. Now that I'm done with the sink, I will rotate this so you can see the kitchen to the best of my ability. I'll also need this at one point. I have a chef's hat somewhere, but I don't know where it's at, so I'm gonna go grab a hair tie. Maybe. I also don't know where my hair tie is, and I'm not going upstairs to grab one, so hair clip will work. Nothing fancy. Now, bear in mind, I'm just cooking for me. So if there's anything I do that is technically unsanitary, I'm gonna be the one eating it. So who cares? Get my knife, nice little knife, and we're going to start trimming. Trim the zucchini. We're going for half moons, so we're gonna actually cut it in half, just because that makes it easier. Then cut it in half lengthwise, hot dog wise. Hot dogs and hamburgers. We're gonna match those two and cut our half moons. Once again. Now I'm probably not gonna be talking the whole time because I don't know, that just seems a little bit insane. But I will do my best to narrate as I cut and do stuff. If you are following along for some insane reason, I'm kidding, but nonetheless, you'll want your zester for the lemon. I usually do this over the sink, but I don't want to move the camera again, so we're just going to do it above the cutting board. Get a nice little amount of zest, which I'll likely forget to use later because I'm not always the best at remembering the zest, which is unfortunate because it does add a nice little je ne sais quoi to your meal. I will generally go around the entire lemon at least once to get as much of that zesty goodness as possible. And then I'll chop that in a second. First, I would like to do the garlic. Once again, I am taking the garlic hot dog lengthwise to chop it into little slices. And then I will line those up to cut those little slices into little bits because I'm mincing the garlic. Not a perfect mince, and I do actually have a garlic mincer somewhere, but I really like to use the thing. I prefer the knife method. It works just fine for me. I'm going to check the camera because this is the first time I've done this, and I'm scared it's going to cut off. Alright, we're going to do the parsley next. Now I know when most people would do a video like this, they would, film it, cut through the boring parts, stitch it together, and then voice over. But you know what? This is how life works. This is how real people do things. Real people do it live. We're doing it live. So hopefully I don't fuck up because that would be embarrassing. Now, technically this isn't actually live because that's more effort than my phone doesn't like doing live things. But it will be unedited on first upload, give or take a minute or two if there's like fluff at the end or something. So now that we've picked the leaves off the parsley, mostly avoiding the stems, we're going to just rough chop. Besides, the parsley is almost always a topper anyway. Alright, so now, because all of this is done, we'll do the lemon last. Go in half, cut those halves in half. I will probably not even use those halves, if we're being honest. I'll probably use one. I'm going to wash my knife off because it's a fancy knife, and I'm fairly certain I'm done using it. So wash it off, wipe it on the paper towels, even though that's off screen, you know what I'm doing. Throw it on the drying, and we're done. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to start the water. So we're going to salt the water real quick. I'm already making mistakes. And we are going to turn the water on. That's not the right one. That is the right one. I'm still getting used to this oven. I've recently moved into this place, so there are growing pains. What? You can see my hands, but you can't see my face. Okay, we're done chopping. So I'm gonna. No, you know what? That's fine. You don't have to see my face. This is my face. There you go. You're good. All right. So first things first, we gotta get butter from the fridge. Use a steak knife because it's the only thing that I really don't use in my knife set, and slice 1 teaspoon of butter. Peel off any excess wrapping. And we're going to melt a teaspoon of butter with this one. Yes. Let that heat up for a second before I throw this on there, because what's the point in doing it early? Getting a little bit of heat. The water is on full blast. It'll probably be roughly okay time-wise. Go ahead and grab my scissors to open up all this other stuff. All right, that's probably long enough. The butter will start melting pretty quick. Get off the knife. Anyway, leave that out so the butter will soften in case I need it later. Let's go ahead and grab a spatula. Now, this is just ravioli, so this will do. I don't need a full-on spatula. These are metal utensil safe, but I prefer to use my rubber just in case. Now, because I'm looking at the recipe card, I know, although I know anyway, I've cooked enough of these, but nonetheless, I know that I will need a small bowl to put the panko in once it's done. So we're going to grab that. I also need a small plate, which we'll put here for the zucchini once it's done. All right, get this nice and melted. While that's melting, I will open up the panko. I thought about doing this, honestly, at this point for years. Filming cooking. I mean, why not, right? I have to do it, so I might as well do something with it. I've just put it off and put it off, but now I have a tripod, and so we're gonna try it with my phone, and hopefully it works well. Okay, so butter's melted. We're gonna throw in the panko. Try to spread it out a little bit. So basically, we're just going for a minute or two. Um, the recipe card says 3 to 4, but when it comes to panko, it's really up to what type of pan you're using, how much heat you're throwing on it. It could be 3 to 4, it could be 1 minute. It also depends on how toasted you want it. But anyway, now that I've got the equipment, I figure I might as well give it a shot. And if I hate it, then we won't do it again. But anyway, maybe eventually I'll do it live, but the only way I'm allowed to do live right now is Twitch because, to my knowledge, YouTube and Instagram and all that requires a specific amount of followers, which I currently don't have. But Twitch does, and Twitch does not work well with my phone when doing live. You want to keep moving these panko around. You can let them sit for a minute, but you want to make sure to don't not let them burn because they will very quickly. Um, but yeah, for now, it'll have to be I record it and then I'll upload it, and we'll see how that goes. I honestly don't think I'll go through the whole video. Ow. Whole video? I'll probably just double check it. Quickly jumping through to make sure my voice is good and everything. And if it does turn out well, then you can expect more of these because guess what? I have to eat. And if I have to eat, I have to cook. If I have to cook, I might as well record it. Circle of life. This probably will be about 3 to 4 minutes though. So if you're looking to jump through, that's probably the mark you're looking for from the time I started. Maybe even 5. Who knows? I did just start the burner. As you can see, I think, yes, the water is beginning to boil. But we're not quite to the point where we want to throw in that ravioli. Oh, while we're waiting, though, I may as well grab out my strainer for later use. The panko is starting to brown just a little bit. Probably doesn't show up as well on the camera. And honestly, it's also probably just because I've done this enough that I know. But it's definitely absorbed all the butter. I don't know if this is going to help, but let me see. You know, honestly, that's kind of awful. My kitchen lighting, admittedly, is not great. Yeah, I'm casting a shadow on everything. But what can I do? I haven't had time to upgrade that since I've moved into this place, and if I'm being honest, it's a little low on my priority list. There's been quite a bit of projects. Nothing major, but nonetheless, a better kitchen light, while useful, not high on the priorities. If I keep doing this, though, I might at least get like a little under the cabinet light or something to help illuminate for you. Just a few more minutes, seconds. Yeah, like a minute, and this will be done. I could speed it up if I turn the heat up, but then it would burn quickly. Now I bet you can see that it's browning. I could also probably speed it up if I like flatten it all out, but then I feel like if I just let it sit, I'm more likely to let it burn if I do that. So here we are. That's looking that's looking nice. All right, we're gonna call that right there. Give it that extra couple seconds while I was scooping it all. Try to get as much of it out of here as possible because toasty panko is always delicious. Why would I want to waste it? All right, so that's done. This is starting to boil, so we're going and throw in our ravioli. This is what they sent me. Honestly, at this point, I've done HelloFresh so much. Oops, that was not well done. My bad. But I've done it so much that I could probably do a lot of these recipes without the recipe cards and buy the ingredients. But I work for a living, so nobody's got time for that. Notice that I did not turn off the heat. That's because we're going to jump straight into the next step. Now, it does say to wipe out the pan after each step where you remove things from the pan, but why would I do that? I want the flavor to go all through everything. So now we're throwing our zucchini in. We did a drizzle of oil, as you saw. Get the zucchini going. I did not salt and pepper the panko, but that's okay. We can do this. Do a little bit, and we'll just mix it up before we throw it on stuff. So zucchini is in. We're going to salt and pepper that. I have these automatic salt and pepper meals that are fantastic. I have gone through quite a few different pepper mills trying to find ones that didn't just fucking suck. So these are great. At least so far, I've been happy with them. It's been a couple months, so I'd say it's a fairly good test run. Okay, so the zucchini we're going to throw on for 2 minutes. I will put a timer on this one. It says 2 to 3, but I always assume the lesser side. You know, you can always go longer. You can't reverse. You can't uncook something that's already cooked, but you can cook it for a minute or two longer. Oh, looking tasty already. I like to keep my stuff moving when possible, just so I can, flip it over, check how cooked it's getting on the other side. Plus, it helps to even it out. You don't end up with one side that's just burnt. Although that's not always a bad thing, but check that camera. 20 minutes. Oof. It's supposed to be a fast one, but then again, I am taking my time. This will probably be a long video. I'm guessing near 30. Maybe a little longer, but we'll see. We'll see. Now, I've still got about 40 seconds on that, so I'm going to go ahead and grab out a Tupperware because half of this will be used for me tomorrow. And you know what? Do a bowl. Now, don't forget if you're doing side chip to go back and mix your stuff. Because again, you don't want that burning. Okay, there's my alarm for these. How are we looking? You know what? I think I will go the extra minute. But I won't put a timer on. It's 4 o'clock exactly, so 4:01. Or when I feel like it's good. No longer than 4:01 though. Okay. So this is to turn off the heat. We're gonna do things by the book, people. Let's use half the lemon zest. That's about half. Mix that in real quick. Ah! Mix it in without throwing it all over the place would be good. Now remove and plate for later use. There we go. The ravioli should be cooking for 3 to 4 minutes. We're at 2-ish. I have not been tracking, but I can tell you right now, just by the look of it, those are not done. So we'll keep it up. Again, I've cooked a lot, so a lot of this I can just kind of wing. I know, by the book, but it is what it is. All right, so now that that's done, we're going to grab another teaspoon of butter. Throw away the wrapper. Couldn't have just come off the knife. No, had to make me work for it. All right, turn on the heat to about medium, medium low ish. Give those raviolis just a few more minutes. Let that butter. All right, we're gonna add the garlic and the marinara sauce. Now, for the marinara sauce, I'm going to need something to get it out. We're going to remove this from the heat for a second so that we don't accidentally burn anything while we're catching up. Sauces can be real finicky, so if you if you don't keep a real eye on it when you're throwing all the ingredients in, you know, you can mess it up. Technically, I probably should have opened this ahead of time, but I like to do it as I go. Keep that just in case we need it. Garlic marinara sauce and half of the Italian seasoning. That's roughly half. 1 to 2 minutes until fragrant. I think at this point, that's 404. 1 to 2 minutes puts us at 405 to 406. I should turn the heat down just a little bit. Mix that up real nice. I think at this point, the raviolis are probably done. Possibly even a little past done, which is fine. So we're going to get our strainer. I think this is off camera, and I apologize for that. We're going to strain the water into a measuring cup and the raviolis into the strainer. Well, set those there. Does that even show up on camera? Sort of. Make sure you don't burn this. Turn this off. No need for that burner anymore. All right, we're going to remove this because we need to add in the cream frosty. I'm usually good with words, but this one eludes me. Oh well. I can read it. I know what it means. I've just never had to pronounce it before. So we throw in these. We'll also throw in the cream cheese, and then we're supposed to whisk those together, but I am not a huge fan of whisks. I'm sure they have their usage, but I prefer just a spatula. So we're going to whisk them with a spatula. Not a big deal. Now, remember how I said, because you probably didn't see it, that I poured the water from the ravioli into a measuring cup. Here it is. I'm going to use 1/4 cup in here. Bring this back to the heat and begin our whisking process. Oh boy, I need sugar. Sugar is in the other room, so I will have to run and grab that. But first, I don't need it at this moment, so we're just going to start whisking. with a spatula. Ah, I knew I was missing something. I was wondering when the stock concentrate came in. Knew it had to be soon. Throw that in there while that's heating back up so we don't get too far behind. And continue our whisking process. Starting to look tasty. Starting to smell tasty too. Although I always kind of think that when you're cooking, you don't smell it as much as if you were to, say, walk into the room from another room. You know, you kind of just get used to the smell. So I smell it, but only barely. All right, while that reacclimates, we're going to grab the sugar, and I believe you guys should still be able to hear me because I have earbuds in capturing my audio. How nice that such technology exists. I have my sugar and a measuring cup. I only need 1/4 teaspoon, so we're gonna grab that real quick, put it on top for when it's actually time to use it. Now this is a sauce, so you cannot leave it for very long. Otherwise you absolutely will burn it. Always make sure to get your edges. It says to whisk until melted and combined. We're getting close, but there's still some chunks. A couple chunks is okay, but you want as few as possible. Not that it's going to matter in the long run, but more combined is better. I would say that's right about acceptable. So remove that. We're going to salt and pepper. Now I have a rule. Anytime I salt and pepper, I try to go 1.5 or 2 times the amount of time with the pepper than I do with the salt. So if I do the salt for 1 second, I do the pepper for 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds. That's partially just because the pepper mill, in general, all pepper mills, to my knowledge, um, are slower than the salt mills. Salt's easier to grind, I guess. Add your sugar. Mix that in nice and well. Gotta make sure to not let it sit for too long. All right. A squeeze of lemon juice. Now, when the recipes call for a squeeze of lemon juice, generally they just mean one slice. Uh, they'll ask for two or for a large squeeze if they want more than one slice. Try to get as much of the seeds out as possible before I squeeze. And I try generally to squeeze onto the spatula because exactly what just happened. If a seed does pop out, I can easily grab it and I have to hunt for it in the sauce, which can, be a nightmare. Should get those edges off the edge so they don't burn. At this point, we're just in a waiting game. We add the remaining zest and let it thicken just a little bit. It's getting pretty close to where we want it, but we're not quite there. I would say we're really close though. Honestly, I think that will do. So, the next step is to gently, as they say, stir in the ravioli, which, having let it sit for a second, can sometimes be a task just to get it out. Try to separate it to the best of your ability. A lot of this will separate as it gets sauced up, though. But you do have to watch out because sometimes ravioli likes to stick together. Try to mix it up as much as possible. And once again, if you're so inclined, and I am, add a little bit more salt and pepper to the mix. So at this point, I'm just trying to separate stuff, which is not going so well as I just had one of my ravioli split in half. Not a big deal. It's all going to get eaten anyway, right? You separate, whatever. Half of a ravioli isn't going to kill me. Nice and mixed up, nice and saucy. And with that, we are done. So what we're going to do is, you know, the recipe says to top with zucchini, but I'm just going to mix it in because it's just not going to look well if you top with it. So you're going to mix it in, mix it up just a little bit. Doesn't have to be much. Just get those zucchini and some sauce. Make them happy little zucchinis. Saucy. All right. So this part, I guess we're gonna do this. Now my counter is not the best right now. I'm still sort of organizing things, but it is what it is. So I am going to attempt to do this with my left hand so that you can see. I mean, I'm literally just throwing it into the plate. It's not going to be the prettiest thing. Try to evenly distribute because I would like to eat tomorrow too. HelloFresh always sends. You can only get HelloFresh for two people, serving size wise. So, I mean, technically I could eat all this by myself, but I generally try to distribute it as such. That way I can have a meal tomorrow. You know what? We'll just leave it there. Now we're almost done. Give me 1 second and I will return to the camera to finish it up. Grab a fork. Try to tidy up my plate because I made a friggin' mess. Ravioli is not the easiest thing to plate, and especially not pretty. Alright, so mix this up a bit and top with panko. Panko doesn't reheat in the oven quite as well, so I'm going to do more panko on this side. And with that, we now have ravioli. Hopefully, this was an enjoyable experience. Till next time.